Hello everyone, this is Dr. Shannon bringing you a message of hope today from the Inspire, and welcome back. This is day 11 a.m. Central. We're here on our 21-day journey of learning to love our lives, and our life's work well. This is a challenge because sometimes it takes getting naked and unafraid. So today, I wanted to get naked and unafraid for you. Couldn't come with no clothes, so I decided to come with a naked face to make this point to you today. And I'm calling this episode Naked, Unafraid, Unashamed, and Unapologetic. Why? Because we bury ourselves under so many stories. We wear so many masks. We do not allow people to actually see who we really are. Have you ever watched that show on TV called Naked and Afraid? I don't know if you've ever seen this, but even though I don't have a TV, well, I have a TV that I use only for my computer, but I don't actually watch TV, but I watch Hulu. And let me tell you, when I came across this show, I was hooked. This show is absolutely incredible. They take two total strangers, bring them together, completely naked in the middle of nowhere, and they each have one item that they get to have besides a map. And they get to choose one thing, like it'll be whether it's a machete or a fire starter or something. But here these two complete strangers are, and now they have to survive. Well, I have to tell you, today we're on day 11, and of course 11, my favorite number. But we're over halfway there. How awesome is that? Over halfway to making this loving our life and our life's work well a new habit. Well, part of my experience of getting naked and unafraid was when I wrote my book, Date Yourself Well. In one of the chapters, it's called My Rich Me Story. Because remember when we talked about one of the problems with learning to date ourselves well is that we have these syndromes. First of all, we have the Cinderella syndrome. Every woman, thinking that there's going to be this Prince Charming that comes along, sweeps her off her feet, and they live happily ever after. The poor Prince Charming, because all of a sudden he finds out that he's not, seen as Prince Charming anymore, and now he's like Prince Not So Charming. He falls off his white horse, and now what happens? Everyone eventually ends up with a poor me story. Going from Cinderella syndrome to disengagement syndrome after you realize, is this as good as it gets? And then you're like, wow, I thought life was going to be so much better than this. And then you go into the Superwoman or Superman syndrome, and then it ends in a poor me story. But the story doesn't have to end there. So I was in my poor me story in my life, very tough time, okay? And then I began to go into what I call my rich me story. It took me getting very, very brave. Let me tell you, naked, unafraid, even though it felt scary, unashamed and unapologetic. I remember when I began to tell my story of having been married and divorced 3 times. Okay, I'm saying that now in a public setting. I had so much shame about that, and I realized that, until I was willing to expose myself and see my nakedness, see my whatever, my truth, it wasn't until then that all of a sudden I began to heal. I'll tell you, when I began to see okay, this is where I am. This is my truth right now. It isn't the truth, but my truth is, this is my situation. What am I going to believe? But I couldn't make a choice about what I was going to believe until I became naked and unashamed, really. So I began to write my story in my book, and I began to say, these are the truths that I uncovered. This is what happened in my life. It was when my head and heart began to come together and reunite again that divorce was no longer in me. It was no longer my identity, but it became part of my naked, unashamed, unafraid, and unapologetic story. My rich me story. So I want to ask you today, where are you feeling like you are poor me? Where are you covering up? Where are you missing an opportunity to become the great lover of your life? Because this is what God did for me. This is what my brokenness, I felt so broken, but even though I felt broken, I wasn't broken. I wasn't broke. And even if you feel broken today, you don't have to be broke. You don't have to continue to tell your poor me story, because a poor me story will keep you poor. If you are willing to experience and write a rich me story, and you are willing to get naked, unashamed, unafraid, and unapologetic today, and truly expose yourself, you are in for one of the greatest healings of your life. To get into that truly becoming the great lover of your life. And the first step, or I would call it the first engagement of becoming the great lover of your life, is to meet you. To meet you right here, right now, naked, unashamed, unafraid, and unapologetic. To meet you and say, who are you really? Stand in front of the mirror, look yourself in the eyes, and say, who are you really? Who am I? And begin to allow yourself to be fully expressed. I remember after my last divorce, I sat down on the living room floor, and I was in such a state of overwhelm, such a state of, afraid, ashamed, all of this. I sat down and I began to write out all the responsibilities, or all the hats that I was wearing in my life, all of the masks that I was wearing, because I found that I was hiding behind a lot of the roles that I was playing. I sat down with like 5 tag boards. I mean, those big tag boards that you like do when you're a kid. And I began to write, hands and knees down, writing. I wrote out like 4 or 5 of these things with all the responsibilities that I was a part of, that I had my hands in something, all the plates that I was spinning. And as I began to write, I was like, oh my goodness, I felt lighter and lighter and lighter. And I said, today's the day. I'm taking off every single hat, and I'm going to decide right here and right now what fits in my life anymore. And I'm going to stop doing things because I think I should. I'm going to stop doing them just because I've always done them. And I am going deep into my soul. I am willing to see every square inch of it, regardless, good, bad, ugly, it doesn't matter. Naked and unafraid, unashamed and unapologetically going within and saying, you know what is it that I choose to create with this poor me story that I've had, and allow myself to express the richness within me. I encourage you today, if you are in a place, whether it's a poor me story, or whether you're living in the past, or you're living in some ideal future of what you think your life should look like, take the time today. Grab your journal and begin to write. Where are you hiding in your life? Where are you so afraid to allow others to see you? Where are you afraid to get naked? Where are you afraid because you've been hiding? Today's the day. Expose yourself. If you want and you desire to love your life and your life's work well, today's your day, my friend. And I see some wonderful people. Oh my gosh, Dr. Bob and Michelle, thank you guys for being here. I would love to hear from you. If you guys have questions, concerns, thoughts, anything that you'd like to share, let's continue this journey together. If you got something today, give it a thumbs up, and also share it with someone that you love, and maybe someone you don't even love, but you're like, you know what? I think this message would help expose them and set them free today. Thank you so much for being here. Write all this stuff out. Expose yourself today and begin to live a life that you love. This is Dr. Shannon, inspiring minds that want to know and hearts that want to grow so you can love your life well. Naked, unafraid, unashamed, and unapologetic.